Welcome to the Men of Iron podcast, changing a culture one man at a time. At Men of Iron, we equip men and grow godly leaders through creating and sustaining one-to-one and micro-group mentorships. Go to menofiron.org for more info. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Men of Iron podcast, live from Supply in Manheim, PA. I'm here with my partner in crime, Garrett Barbush. What's going on, G?
Oh, Steve, another day in the land of milk and honey, just trying to live the dream.
Man, the dream is being lived. We are excited for this episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Castle Signs, professional vehicle branding, including fleet graphics, vehicle wraps, and design. Serving Lancaster County with 2 locations in Manheim and Smoketown. We love Castle Signs. What do you think?
Smoketown, that's their new location down there in Smoketown.
So go to castleteam.com for all your design needs. We are excited for today's episode. Let's welcome in Jason Lantz from RiverTree Christian Church in Stark County, Ohio. Jason is the vision leader at RiverTree. RiverTree has grown to 7 churches in Stark County, Ohio, and has helped plant dozens of new churches around the world. Welcome, Jason.
Good to be with you guys.
What's going on?
Just loving my time here visiting.
Yeah, so Jason Lantz, fellow Malone University alum. Back when you were there, it was still Malone College.
Malone College.
Like when I
Go
was there.
Pioneers, yeah.
Did they ever send you a new diploma? Because I never got a new diploma.
I'm not sure if I got one diploma at the beginning. I don't know.
Well, just to kind of give our viewers a little bit of the background, Jason and I were introduced to each other from the late Steve Marshall from Mission View Church. And, man, we miss Steve. But Steve connected to both of us. And, man, good things have happened ever since then.
That's right.
And, man, I'm just grateful that you're in town and have really enjoyed building our relationship over the last, I guess it's a little bit over a year now.
Yep.
But looking forward to just really good things happening out in Ohio. Jason introduced Men of Iron to Brian Ziegler.
BZ.
Brian Ziegler was mentored and discipled by Jason. And so we all know all the good things that are happening in Ohio that God's doing out there with Brian's intentionality of coming on part-time. Well, now we've made the decision to bring him on full-time, and that all goes back to our initial conversations here with Jason, and even before that with Steve Marshall. So I love how God works. So, Jason, welcome to Manheim, Pennsylvania, my man.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. We are thankful for you sending us BZ our way because we just love him, man.
He's a good guy.
He is.
Yeah.
So we are going to start today's podcast out with Take 5. So this is 5 questions for Jason. You ready for this?
Ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is one of your favorite childhood memories?
Man. I used to play football after school with the same 5 or 6 guys in the side yard all the way to dinner almost every day. I'm not kidding. Almost every day.
See, kids
It doesn't
don't do
get
that
any better
anymore.
than that.
No.
Kids
I
don't do
drive
that
by
anymore.
out that street now, and there's this pine tree that I used to be able to, almost jump over, and it's just massive. And I drive by and think, man, that was great.
That's so cool.
That's the way life should be.
Those are the best memories, man.
Now they're playing Fortnite.
That's right. Now my son's in the basement playing Fortnite.
It's sad.
As soon as
I mean,
he gets off the bus.
I remember that too as a kid. I mean, you just stayed out until you couldn't see anymore. You just stayed out playing ball.
The rule was once the street lights are on, you're home.
That's right.
Street lights are coming on, you better be home. So,
All right, Jason, Take 5. Question number 2. What or who inspires you?
Man. I'm inspired by people that are willing to take a risk. So you were talking about Brian Ziegler.
Mm-hmm.
I love that guy
Yeah.
because he's not afraid to go for it.
Yep.
In everything he does, he's out there. And so I would just say anyone that's willing to put themselves out there, especially because it's something that God put in their heart to do. It's a lot of times I think we talk about doing big stuff for the kingdom and for God, but we never do anything.
Yeah.
And so the person, even if they fall flat on their face, I always tell my son, I'm like, if you're going to fail, I want you to fail big. I want you to go for it.
Love that.
And I'm proud of you for failing big, for
Yeah.
going for it and taking a risk.
Yep.
So first thing that popped in there was just someone like Brian that goes after it.
Yeah, we talked about that this morning, just all that audacious faith. I love that. Question 3 for Take 5 is, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to do?
I'm the kind of person that loves new things. I look back on my life, I'm always starting new stuff. One of the hardest things for me to do is stay. That's like sounds awful just even saying it, right? The feeling of like I might get stuck here, I have to stay in this thing, or so the hardest thing probably till the day I die will be to be consistent, to do the last 30% of something, to really stay and make sure something's great and not just look at the next shiny thing and go after it.
Yeah.
What a great attribute, though, that you recognize that, though. That's half the battle sometimes.
Yep.
So
Awesome. So question 4 for Take 5 is, what's the best book you've read recently or maybe currently reading?
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. He's really thinking about this one.
So I was thinking about all these different leadership books and stuff, but I've been reading the old school Calvin and Hobbes books with my kids before bed. I'm being serious.
I love
Those
it.
are so funny.
I love it.
Have you read those?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's like 4th grade.
Oh, yeah. I love those books, man.
Sorry. So yeah, we're always trying to read all these leadership books and books about disciple making and missional communities and our church being on mission and stuff. But to be real with you, like
Love
Calvin and Hobbes right now, it's
Love
hilarious.
It's
My kids
good
love
stuff.
it. Yeah.
So
Love it.
good. Love it. All right, so this is our final question for Take 5, and this ties back to the man we were just talking about. Give us your favorite BZ story.
Brian Ziegler
story.
I know
Oh
you
my
got a bunch
gosh.
of them, but like, if you could
Oh my
give
gosh.
us a 30
All right.
second
Well, let me
version.
just tell you. So when I met Brian, he loves Jesus. He's just kind of getting into it, and he would always do he would go cowboy on us, which means he just doesn't follow the rules. All right.
Such a maverick.
Right, he is. So he's like, hey, we should go on one of these trips. We should go on this trip to another country, a mission trip. I said, okay. So I do what you're supposed to do. I look for an organization that already does that stuff, that already has a system and a plan, and you go with them, and you have someone else lead you on the trip. Well, that's not what he meant. He just wanted to go on a trip. I said, well, what are we going to do on the trip? He goes, we'll figure it out when we get there. We'll just book the tickets. We'll just go down there, and Jesus will show up. That's what he does.
So great.
So anyway, and he meant it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've reined him in a little bit, but that's still in there, I know.
He's
up, Brian.
He's now at least open to some structure and a little bit of like, hey, we got to think this through a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, that's what we
You've
love
brought him a
about
long
BZ,
way,
though.
Jason. He brought you a long way. Well, again, man, we thank you for being here. One of the things that we felt like we could really use this particular podcast interview for and this particular episode is number one, I want you to describe a little bit what the vision leader at RiverTree Christian Church does, because in our experiences in working with churches, and even in running with Men of Iron, I think you guys have really, you and your elders and your leadership there have really figured out what your sweet spot is in regards to visionary, but also understanding that with the strengths of a visionary also come the weaknesses. And what I've heard from you recently is that you guys have really surrounded yourself with the right leadership that helps you stay in your lane of visionary. And I think that is just so crucial and important. And it's actually something that we're working toward here at Men of Iron. And so it's really been inspired by, watching you guys do it and watching you kind of transition into this new position. And then I want to talk about the One Leadership Center.
Yeah.
The One Center, and then also kind of talk a little bit more about RiverTree Christian Church. But tell our listeners and viewers what you are tasked with in regards to being the vision leader at RiverTree Christian Church.
Sure. So really, my goal is to stay in prayer as much as I can and stay accountable as much as I can to our elders, and together really pray about what God uniquely wants RiverTree to do to help people know Jesus and become disciples of Jesus Christ and to make disciples of Jesus Christ. And I know that every church wants to do that, but I do believe that every church has a very unique identity in who they are. And so it's not generic, right? And so my role is really to continue to pray and then listen. It's not always to pray and go do something. Mm-hmm. It's to pray and then bring that to the elders and get feedback from them. It's to go to our campus pastors and to hear what God is saying to them as they're uniquely in their context and pastoring their people, to go to our staff, to go to our volunteer leaders that are leading our missional communities, and and really out there doing it, and then really to take bold steps in faith to say, how are we going to steward what God has given us? We have a great history at RiverTree. You know, I'm just jumping in here at a specific point in the history of our church, but since 1964 was when the church was planted, and wow. There's been so many great leaders that have come before me that did the same thing and did it well, and I really believe I'm getting to stand on their shoulders right now. So there's a lot to steward, and it's a humbling thing, you know, like you don't want to mess it up,
right?
You know, and so we're really saying, God, not what could we do, because there's a lot of organizations out there to partner with, there's a lot of great programs out there a church can do, but really more, what should we do? God, what uniquely do you want us to do that matches with our identity? And so my role is to keep us on point with that, be clear about the vision, and really just share that vision with our core elders, forward team, campus pastors, and staff in a way that we're all heading in the same direction at the same time towards the same thing.
So if you could, and again, I know like so many churches are not set up in this way. So many churches are kind of set up in a way where there is a lead pastor, and that lead pastor may, you know, speak a majority of the time. He's the one that's preaching the word. You know, maybe he's charged with leading staff and managing staff. In some cases, an executive pastor maybe does that. But you, yourself, your elders recognize the gift in you to be a dreamer and to be a visionary. And they have set things up in a way that have allowed you to stay in that lane. So you don't oversee any particular campus. You speak, I think you said last time I talked to you, maybe 26 weeks out of the year, maybe. Mm-hmm. Is that right? And then you've got somebody on staff that's managing campus pastors, but you're still available to meet with them when necessary. Is that correct?
Yeah, so, you know, our church is in a unique season where, you know, we're maturing to another level. We're what I would call a network of churches now. And so, you know, if you have 7 churches spread out all over the place with pastors that really see themselves as the primary missionary to their context, you got to let them lead. You got to empower them. You got to let them listen to Jesus, get in the Word, listen to their team and their people. And at the same time, you've got to tie everything together and make sure that they are a part of something bigger, that it's not just a rogue operation on the side. And so it's been an evolution to get there, a maturation to get there. We're not there yet. We have a lot of things that we can do better and work out, but that's where we're heading. So the main campus, our Jackson campus, has kind of been kind of the mothership, if you will, that has launched all of these churches over the years. We started our first campus in 2005 and just started 2 churches about a year and a half, 2 years ago to get to 6 and 7. And we've also partnered with a lot of churches all over Ohio to plant churches that aren't necessarily our campuses. And so as we've moved down that path, the person that sits in my seat, the role has changed. Mm-hmm. My role used to be the person that spoke, 3 out of 4 weekends at the Jackson campus, because that's just was the biggest one. That's where everybody was at. But now, I still speak quite a bit there, 50, 55, 60% of the time, depending on the year. But there's a Jackson campus pastor, Scott Nelson. He's a great guy, and he has a passion and a vision for Jackson Township, for that specific church. He wants to see a missionary on every street in Jackson and a missional community in every neighborhood in Jackson. And he's leading his team, his staff to get there. And so my role now, even when I speak at the Jackson campus, is to serve him and to serve that staff and to serve that church and just use the gifts God's given me to build up that church towards that mission. But see, even that church, even though it's the biggest one, it's under this bigger umbrella that all of our churches have of what we're calling one church movement. Mm-hmm. And one church movement is really our passion, is that we want to send 20,000 missionaries in the next 7 years. Mm-hmm. And that means church planters, but that also means the teacher, the business guy, the person that has the neighbor that they want to see know Jesus Christ. We want to empower and send people as missionaries. And it really is that bigger umbrella that ties us all together.
Well, let's talk about those 20,000 missionaries, because that was one of the reasons we wanted to have you on this particular episode. And there's a new initiative that's getting ready to be launched that RiverTree is behind. It's not necessarily a RiverTree branded thing, but it's you guys are definitely driving this initiative, and tell me if I'm wrong, but is the One Center. So I don't know if you can fill us in a little bit about the One Center and tell our listeners and viewers what's happening at the One Center and how we're involved in that as far as Men of Iron goes and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we're really excited about this. It's kind of still in process. It'll probably launch early 2019. But, to send 20,000 missionaries, we know that it's going to have to be much bigger than just RiverTree brand. We can't just add a campus with 200 people and expect to send that many people for Christ. And, in our county where we live, there's 375,000 people in Stark County, and God wants every one of them to know Jesus. And so we're not going to pull that off if we don't start linking arms with other people.
Amen.
So we knew that we would have to have a platform that was bigger than just any one of our campuses. And so that's where One Center for Leadership came from. We've been praying about the right location for about a year and a half now, and we think that God has shown us where that is. It's going to be right in the heart of Canton, Ohio. And it really is going to be a platform to multiply kingdom leaders. We want to multiply kingdom leaders, not just in the church slice of the pie. Like church planners, yes, we'll keep doing that. But we want to see kingdom leaders in business, in education, in government, in nonprofit, in technology, in arts and entertainment, in neighborhoods and families, like all of these different domains that make up any community. We want to see the church, the Big C church, in all of those. And so this One Center for Leadership, the goal is to multiply kingdom leaders into all of those spaces.
It's phenomenal.
I love it. So talk a little bit more about, after we had met and spent some time together, Jason, you came to me with this idea, and you warned me at the time, like, I don't know when this is going to happen. I don't know how. It was very much premature.
Right.
But since that conversation, things have progressed tremendously to the point that Men of Iron as an organization, we've pulled the trigger on a full-time hire in Ohio and Brian Ziegler. And then obviously the question was, well, where's Brian going to work?
Yeah.
And then that's when you and I continued the conversation. Yeah. So talk a little bit about, practically speaking, what the One Center is going to look like, who's going to be involved, some of the details of that.
Yeah, so, right away, one of the ways that we've seen God kind of bring this together is we prayed that God would bring the right people to be at the core and the heart of this as collaborative impact organizations. That's what we're calling them, collaborative impact organizations. So, we're thinking 5 to 10 organizations that really have the DNA of multiplying kingdom leaders and what they already do in a very collaborative spirit. To know that, what they're doing is important, but they want to link arms with other organizations that share the same DNA but are in different lanes. And you guys do that so well. Garrett, I recognize that in you right away, and as I got to know your staff and your board, and I just see that you guys have a kingdom heart where you want to just see Jesus everywhere, but you also are very focused on doing what you do in an excellent way. The way that you're mentoring men, the way that you're going after guys, loving Jesus and living that out in those 5 F's is such a big deal. And so we want to see Brian and his team. We want to see them in One Center for Leadership as a collaborative impact organization. That means they'll be in there every day. It also means you're going to be doing your trainings out of there, conferences out of there. All the things that you are doing in the Canton region is kind of going to be based out of the center. And
it excites me to think about, having our, here just locally, for example, in Lancaster and Manheim, we're scrambling every year to find a church that will host us for, 300 mentors and proteges. When I look at Canton, Ohio, for example, in the One Center, there's not going to be scrambling. That's going to be our headquarters out there.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be office space,
right.
But it's going to be a space where we can actually execute the ministry that God has called us to. So that excites me, number one. Number two is I see it as a hub where we can reach out to all of our local mentors and proteges and say, hey, guys, if you need a place to have your meeting, you need a place to meet as mentor and protege or meet as a micro group, One Center is where you can go to have those meetings.
Right.
And so,
we wanted it to be a platform where even other churches would feel like, hey, we can all collaborate here. Collaboration is a nice word that everybody throws out there, but to actually do it, you need a neutral spot. You need a credible spot. You need a spot where multiple people can be together that maybe are all churches or all nonprofits, but that can do something together. And so we really want that. So, if you're listening to this and you're a mentor or a protege with Men of Iron and you're connected to a church in Stark County or near the Canton area, we want you to come there and be a part of it. And you're going to meet all kinds of like-minded people that are all about Men of Iron, but you're also going to meet a bunch of like-minded people that love these other organizations that are in there.
That's awesome. And Jason, if you could, we are having just some visual complications right now, but audio is fine. But as far as what the One Center is going to be focused on, obviously that's going to be a component of sending out the 20,000 missionaries. But talk a little bit more about those things that are going to be, I guess, basically executed by One Center. You talked about the 4 C's.
Yeah.
If you could just expand on those a little bit.
Yeah. So we're going to do 4 main things for every organization out of the One Center. The first are cohorts. And these are journeys of 12 months, 24 months, sometimes maybe longer, where you have a bunch of like-minded leaders that are taking a journey together to get to the next level. A lot of times those are facilitated by an expert or somebody that's been an expert in their field. So cohorts will always be going out of the One Center for any organization that's in there. We're going to do conferences there. So this could be a Men of Iron conference that's kind of internal, and you have all of your regional folks show up or all your mentors show up from the Northeastern Ohio region. But it could also be a bigger conference too. We're going to have conferences in there that are just general mission conferences where we want to see thousands of people come to Northeast Ohio just to see what God is up to. So there'll be a lot of conferences, internal and external. There'll be collaborative workspace there. So there's all kinds of people sitting at home, working out of a home office or something that just want to be around cool people, right? Want to be around people that are doing something that matters. And there'll be a lot of spaces where there's collaborative workspace. And then finally, there'll be coaching. What I'm noticing is that we don't do a good enough job of bringing the generations together. And so in our area, at least, I found a lot of people that have a lifetime of expertise to give away in coaching, and they just want someone to give it to. So we're going to have like these venture kingdom leaders that sign up for a process of about 12 months where they are coached by people that have been there, done that, and are for them. So
it sounds very similar to the ministry I know of.
Oh, yeah. It's about mentoring or guys or something. I don't know.
Yeah, when I hear multiply kingdom leaders, I just love that because you talked about the DNA of the One Center and Men of Iron just matching up so well, and it just fits to exactly what we want to do and what our vision is.
Yeah, just for the viewers and listeners, we sat in here this morning and Jason and one of your elders came along with you, and one of the other guys that's kind of spearheading this whole One Center thing is sitting here with our staff and our board, and we're talking through the details of all that. And it just was confirmation to us, that in order for Men of Iron to continue to change a culture, and we're not even changing, God's changing a culture, but for us to be part of that process of changing a culture, one man, one family, one church, one community at a time, as we've made this decision to grow and expand in the Stark County area in Ohio, it just made sense for us to say, we need to have a presence there in Ohio. We need to have a space for Brian to work out of. We need a place for Brian to feel like he's maybe part of the team. And I think this is so far beyond Stark County. It's so far beyond Northeast Ohio. We're looking at this as not even an Ohio thing, and I know that's what the One Center is all about, is part of the logo is going to have this kind of global perspective to it. And I love the fact that, this is going to be part of changing leaders all over the world. So it's just awesome.
Well, it comes out of this isn't just some cool idea. I really feel like this is from the Lord. I really feel that the Lord has something special for Northeast Ohio. Like, I really feel that He wants to put on display what He can do in someone's life right in the region that we live in. And I've known this for years, and it's been humbling to see what God has done over the years. And so this is just another key piece in the journey of that. And it's exciting to be a part of. It's humbling to be a part of. It's bigger than any church. I mean, I love RiverTree. I love getting to be a part of RiverTree and serve our church. But this is way bigger than RiverTree. This is multiple churches and organizations coming together to kind of realize the dream that I think God already has for our community. And I just really see it as an opportunity for us to step into that. Like, He's calling us up, and we have the opportunity to join Him.
It's phenomenal.
Jason, you've played a huge role in Men of Iron, whether you realize it or not.
Really?
Because you were the guy that God used to mentor and disciple Brian Ziegler, and even before that, I know mentoring and discipleship has always been a passion of yours. It's something you believe in wholeheartedly, and I remember having this conversation with you. I hope you don't mind me throwing you under the bus a little bit.
Sure.
But, when we were talking early on and when we had first met each other, you're like, the church is just, we're not very good at it. We're not very good at discipling people. And I think we've seen that happen. We've seen the reality and the truth behind that as an organization. When we go in, we can get caught up in the Sunday experience, right? As a church, and I'm saying, big C, capital C church, but when it comes down to getting in the ruts and the trenches of life with somebody, and getting into God's Word together, and getting into prayer together, and building spiritual disciplines together, and educating somebody in that process, that's a very difficult process. And it's a difficult process to multiply. To scale that it's hard. Because you're with one person, linking arms for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, whatever it might be. But talk a little bit about your passion for mentoring and why you're wired this way, and why you feel like to build out those 20,000 missionaries, it's more than just the local church that needs to do that.
Yeah, well, I really got serious about Jesus when I was about 18 years old. I was a freshman at Malone University, and it was the relationships that God put in my life that changed my life. And I mean that. God literally had me walk into a group of guys in the dorm I was in that became what the expression of Jesus Christ's love was to me, and it changed my life. Those guys changed my life. And God put professors and other guys on the football team and people in my life at Malone. I was discipled. I got into the Word for the first time in my life in that way. I saw the Holy Spirit in power on trips with these people. I got more Jesus in those relationships in 5 years than I think most people get in their lifetime. And so honestly, I don't know anything else. Like when I hear church, that's what I hear. When I read Acts, I think of the house I was living in with a bunch of guys when I was a senior at Malone, off campus. It really was like that. I used to think that everybody had that experience, and they just haven't. And I have a real passion to just let people experience Jesus in relationships in a very real way, because that's the way He designed it to be. And I'm not a hater of the church. I love the church.
Amen.
I love the church. Big is not bad. God is using the church in all different ways. But the bottom line is that if we don't receive Jesus' love and power through relationship, we're not going to be able to give His love and power through relationship.
Amen.
So what you guys are doing, connected to the local church, you guys are helping us do what we want to do, but we don't always know how to do. I'm convinced in the local church there's people sitting out there hearing our sermons every weekend that are nodding their head saying, yeah, but then the other thing in their head is, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know who to trust to help me do it, because my life's busy, it's kind of complicated, I'm a little fearful anyway because I don't know if I can do it. And so, especially guys, because we're supposed to know what we're doing, and we don't. And so I think you guys have given a great, simple framework to help a guy have the confidence to go for it with the person they work with, or the person they're coaching, or the person that they've known for years. Maybe they work out with or see every day. So I really think that's what church is all about. And there's different organizations like Men of Iron that can really help be a catalyst for the local church to get a little bit better at the making disciples thing.
It's good stuff. Well, side note, this isn't necessarily this podcast isn't necessarily brought to us by Malone University, but since
shout out to Malone, because it's awesome.
Shout out to Malone, right? Since we are both alum, this will allow us to tag them on social media then.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you think back, I'm interested to know one professor in your time there that impacted you most significantly. I know there's probably a couple, but what's the one that
I'm going to give you two.
Okay.
Dr. John Geib. Guys, I had I mean, I read the Bible maybe here and there in Sunday school because they made me, but I never really read, ever. It was just boring. I didn't get it. And I went to this Bible study because there was this girl going there that I thought was good looking. And this professor was there. By the way, I ended up marrying that girl. So
there
that's a
you
good
go.
Story. But this professor, John Geib, he would sit there with a bunch of college students, and he would not give us the answer, but he knew the Bible like the back of his hand, and he would just, like the Socratic method of teaching, like he would just ask us questions, we'd read the word, we'd comment on it, he'd have us go to another passage. And what we wanted was for him to give us a framework and an answer, and he wouldn't do it. And I'm so thankful that he didn't, because it was so Christocentric. It taught us to get into the Word and to let the Holy Spirit teach us as we read. And that I'm just so thankful that a lot of the base theology that I ever learned was from him.
That's awesome.
Another guy at Malone, Pastor Randy Heckert, he was the campus chaplain then, and we go on these mission trips. He led a trip to Kenya and Tanzania that I got to go on. I thought it was going to be like a work trip. That's what they said it was going to be. And I signed up for it, and then I found out that we were going to be mimes. So I learned to put on makeup, like I know how. Stuff like that. Like I totally got hoodwinked. But anyway, on this trip, I mean, just a powerful experience of being on a team, and we acted out like a lot of the stories of Jesus, and they were powerful times, and had a chance to share the gospel on that trip. But I remember a sermon he gave on that trip that still sticks with me, that he said about the disciples of Jesus. He says that they were with him to become more like him. And it was from Mark 3, and he talks about how he called the 12 to himself, that they would be with him, and that he might send them out to preach and cast out demons. And he just kept talking about, you got to be with him. You got to be with him. I mean, Randy, if you're listening to this, I mean, it haunts me when I'm mowing the lawn this day. And it's so true. After being in ministry almost 20 years now in our area, that's so true.
Right.
Like, you can do a lot of stuff for Jesus, but it's all about being with him.
Yeah.
Still, it's all about being with him. Amen. So, I'm just thankful. There's so many others, but just, 2 examples of, God puts people in your life at just the right time if your eyes are open to it, and I was fortunate in that way.
Yeah, I look back, and my time there was interesting. Shane Johnson, Dr. Shane Johnson.
Yeah.
He probably came into my life at a time that was pretty dark. Even though I was at Malone, I was kind of in a dark season, and I'll never forget it. Somebody, I don't even remember who it was, he taught faith and personal ethics. And it was like an 8 a.m. class on Tuesday, Thursday. And, you didn't take 8 a.m. classes. You tried to avoid 8 a.m. classes that you possibly could. But we had been told to take the class, and so I signed up for it. And I walked in and sit down the first class, and the dude starts preaching. I mean, he just started preaching. And it was not a class. I mean, it was a gosh darn stinking, church service every Tuesday, Thursday at 8 a.m. And from that, I remember reaching out to him and just like, there's something about this guy that I want more of. And he ended up, I remember meeting with him for breakfast. I remember going up to him. I'm not even sure he would remember this. So Doc, if you're listening to this did happen. I remember going to him and saying, hey, I just want to spend some more time with you. Can we grab a meal or something? Because I had noticed that he would mentor some of their guys on campus pretty regularly. And so he said, yeah, but you got to meet at, I don't remember what time it was, 6 a.m. or, that's what time you got to meet me for breakfast, before class. And I remember okay. But he was very firm. Like, if you're going to meet with me, here's the time we got to do it, and here's what you got to do. And he was probably one of the first men in my life, outside of my brothers and my dad, but outside of my family. He was the first guy that looked me in the eyes and told me what a man was. This is how a man treats a woman. This is, how he works. I don't care, about how busy you are. You should be working. You should be earning money. You should be providing. I mean, just clearly laid it out. And in a very in-your-face type of way, but loved you in the process. And, man, I look back at that dude, and he shifted the direction that I was going. He shifted it. And I'm friends with him on Facebook, so I can't wait to bust his chops with this story. But I love that guy to death, and it's funny how a higher education institution can be used to certainly shift your life a little
Really
bit.
has, yeah.
It's awesome. Amen. So, anyway, Stevie, give us some final thoughts, man. What's going on this month?
Yeah, final thoughts. You can find us on iTunes, so just search Men of Iron Podcast or go to menofiron.org/MOI Podcast. Hit subscribe, listen to some episodes, leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah, and depending on when this episode hits, it looks like we're going to be very, very close to the Extraordinary Give.
Yeah.
So make sure you donate some money to Men of Iron here the next couple of days. You should be getting some information about it.
Yeah.
We are trying to raise $100,000 in 24 hours, so we're excited about that. And we've got our One Iron Classic, December 9th to the 12th down in Florida. If you want to go on that, it might be a little bit too late, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. Give us a ring. Shoot us an email.
Yep, we would love to have you. Yeah, so again, you can find us on iTunes at Men of Iron Podcast, and that is it for today. We are thankful to Jason Lantz for being with us today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's an honor.
Yeah, Jason, thank you. And Jason, this is how I have to. Steve makes me sign off every single podcast episode like this. So I did it the first time, like joking around, and now he puts it on every
time
agenda.
now.
So I had to say, blessings and honor and glory and power forever. And that's how we end the podcast.
See you guys.